let a few minutes for the shares to come out.
Oh yeah, definitely. I would. And we're live. Cool. Let me. Yeah, I'm just really trying to get the hang of all this. You
This
go
is really
live?
a new system.
Yeah. Do you go live often? Well, you do with like Facebook Live and stuff, but like in this using this thing.
I I don't. I've never done this StreamYard before.
Oh man, this is like well, I want to say the dream come true, like, but it is very helpful. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
it's yeah. You know, like when people like they can interact and you can do like overlays and like for example, I can remove this, put it back in, you know, and yeah. You know, like
Okay.
when people like they can interact and you can
This
do
is cool. All right. Let me share this right now and
yeah, sure.
get some friends on. Ping 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 ping
All these
ping.
pings going on, eh?
Yeah.
Ah,
Ping ping.
jeez. You have a busy week this week?
Um, the weekend was cool, very relaxing.
Okay, yeah.
But when Monday comes around and we're hot on the press, we're hot on issues. Wow. What we do in the morning, we collect news. We have a look at the news all over Borneo, and then we pick and choose, and then we organize the interviews,
Yeah.
and we have to get our show ready before 3 p.m. because it goes into live live radio mode.
Oh yeah, you're on radio now, right? What
Yeah,
is that? What is that?
it's an activist radio coming out from Sarawak, Malaysia. It's called the Radio Nyawa Sarawak. Nyawa means life. It also means customs.
Hmm?
Sarawak. It was formerly known as Radio Free Sarawak. So that was like a 10-year-old setup. And this community radio station, it's powered by activists.
Okay.
It was founded by Peter John Jaban, one great Sarawak Indigenous Peoples activist. So he started this radio,
Yeah.
and they had somebody to help them broadcast all the way from London.
Okay.
So about 10 years ago, Malaysia is zero free media. So this radio station was set up to broadcast the plight of indigenous peoples fighting for their rights, and they were supported and started broadcasting short wave radio radio programs 2 hours every day to the longhouses, and it got it got so much attention until the founder of the radio had to leave the country for many years, but they kept on continue broadcasting from Bali, from Thailand, from London, to talk about the issues of corruption, especially in Sarawak. And then later, a few years ago, they won an award for best journalism and best radio, community activist radio. So
Hmm.
they stopped broadcasting a little over 2 years ago, but now they've started again, beginning in January, and I joined them as an external team, helping them with some editing and cutting, as well as language. So every morning, for the past 3 months, it's been issues, going through the issues and see what kind of community stories, what kind of angle we're going to tell the news. And then once we package that 2 hour show, we send it to London, and then it broadcasts to shortwave radio, and it's received basically all over the world, but particularly in the longhouses throughout Borneo. Isn't that cool?
Wow. Like I didn't. Well, I knew you were. Um, doing a lot of activities like in media and artistic things, but yeah, like because when I think I saw it on what was it your Twitter handle, your Twitter account that said like
Mhm.
radio.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Hey, sweet man. Like, so you've been do. What do you do? So you do like, do you present? Do you do the? Do you produce the whole thing?
I present a short bit.
Right.
I take on issues. So I'm so here's a story. So I'm out of Malaysia right now. So I'm traveling from various places. I can be in
Yeah.
Indonesia one day and then the next day out in Hong Kong. So what I do is I get in touch with our producers and then we craft out the news and I send them my bits. If there are any issues from Sabah or any issues from Borneo, the producers will check it out, and then we'll have a live conversation, and we record it, and then it goes to the editor, and then after that, once we pack it together in a 2 hour show, it gets broadcasted live. And this is my part time work since January.
Right. Ah, sweet. Like,
Yeah.
dude, what else? Well, better the better question is like, what do you not do? Because you do you're still a musician, right? You do a lot of advocacy work. Like, how do you keep
Well,
up with all that?
that's a very good
Sorry,
question.
man.
Wow. So how do I keep up with it? One, meditation,
Mm,
and a lot of solfeggio music. It helps the aura. It helps re-energize us back. You know, it could be a very long day. So many things. So I'm an activist. I'm a rap artist. I'm a writer. I do some editing. Um, and I do some consultations, and then I'm also watching. Watching means like watching the whole drama all over the world, especially in my part of the world. But at the same time, here's another thing that I do. So I advocate and I represent the indigenous peoples who now, well, who are collectively known as the Dayak because they have been building their indigenous peoples organization over the past years. So I've been also doing representation for our common issues, so that gets me traveling all around Borneo. I go to the jungles. I go and meet the governor of West Kalimantan. I go and meet the traditional leaders. I meet members of parliament. So as an activist for self determination, this is very serious work.
hmm.
It seems that self determination is very important for indigenous peoples in this era as we take on a big fight. So it's hard to say how I take it easy with my time, but the best part to really relax and unwind is to sleep everything off. Sleep, sleep, sleep. The more you
Right.
sleep, the more you can have energy the next day and keep on fighting.
How many hours a night do you need actually to sleep?
Oh, a very
Because
good
it
rest would be a maximum 10 hours. That would
okay.
be a whole re-energizing for the following day.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a few nights with only 3 4 hours, and it's very tiring. It's very stretching, and I end up after that with a long period of migraine.
All right. Well, from yeah. So, do you also try to sleep? Because for me, there's always a difference between sleeping while I'm at home and sleeping while I'm at work, like when I'm in New York or Geneva. And there's a big difference. At home, it is I don't know, max 6 hours,
Hmm.
and then sleeping in
How
will
many?
be 8.
Here's a
I think.
question:
Yeah.
how many hours do you need to sleep before you take on the states when you do your UN work?
Um, 4
Or
at least.
mm,
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know how though, but like for example, when we're in New York or in Geneva, then um, let's say tomorrow, right? So tomorrow I have a meeting with states, and so today I would be preparing myself like towards the end of the day because like during the day we have you know that like we have stuff to do.
yeah.
So towards the end of the day, and then try to prepare as best as possible, and usually that ends at like 2 a.m. and then
Hmm.
yeah, go to sleep for 4 hours, 5 maybe. And I always have to get up early because I want to do this morning routine. Do you have a routine? Do you have something like that, or do you just like
Oh
go
yeah.
with it?
I do have waking up, do a bit of flexing, and then I have this routine now. I burn sage in the morning.
Mm,
Mhm. So
okay,
it's a very limited what I have. I only have a small bag of it. So what I do, instead of smudging the whole thing, I pluck out one leaf at a time and I burn it, and then I speak medicine, and it gives a good vibe in the morning, especially if it's a big day of work.
right. And for yeah, like because I loved because you started with meditation.
Hmm.
Because that is something I've been doing like recently, and want to talk about recently, like the past 2 to 3 years.
Ah, nice.
Um, and it's part of my, well, not right now in quarantine though, but like it's especially when I'm um yeah, I work New York or Geneva or anywhere else. Like I make it a point to like meditate for at least, well, at least 5 max 20 minutes,
Oh yeah,
something
that's
like
more
that.
than enough.
Yeah, like I don't know like how. I would like to know though. Like people, there are people that can actually meditate for like an hour, hour and a half.
Yeah, man. These are like masters.
How do you do that? Like, how do they do it? Like, because it's hard enough for me at least to focus or like
Um,
to be for 20 minutes, but an hour and a half. That's hard.
I
Do
think
you?
I
Yeah.
think I think there's a counting. There's a method. When you breathe in, there are how many seconds that you breathe in, and then when you hold it, there are some seconds, and then when you exhale, there's also some seconds, and then when you repeat this over and over again, what it does to your higher consciousness, it relaxes your mind, and then it connects you to your higher consciousness, or your higher self. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem here, what I face it also even now, is that the lower consciousness or our ego gets in the way, and then it comes with thoughts, and it gives like ideas. It tries to lure us away from getting in touch with our higher consciousness. So that's actually a very good challenge, and if we could master that, we could just in a couple of seconds just get into our higher consciousness and our higher self.
Mm-hmm.
How many
Right.
seconds
Right.
do you breathe in?
So like how I started with using that app Headspace. You know that one?
Oh no.
It is an app that like for beginners, like so that's the first
Okay.
thing that I used. So in terms of I did this, I do this like I can breathe in I count my breaths like 10,
uh,
like 10 times, like easy. And then when I'm at 10, like I go sub break at 1, and then that is how I like get into it.
ah.
And um yeah, and all of a sudden, like if I focus on my breaths and counting, like everything else, like it fades away.
Yeah.
And that is something that really helps me a lot. Like of course, like things pop in and out, but when I feel that like I'm slipping away, like slipping
Mm,
into like reality, I focus back on counting again, like so my
mm,
breaths.
mm,
So that's at least how I at least how I know how to get into it, like how to start. my meditation. And otherwise, you have all on YouTube. You have like all these guided meditations things.
Yeah, yeah,
It's also very helpful. Like
yeah. It is.
yeah, I think I tried on YouTube like that those 1 hour and a half meditations, but that's like that's tough, man. Like I lose focus after
Mm.
like 30 45 minutes, and then or I fall asleep. Like
Yeah.
that's what usually happens after an hour and a half, But
Mm.
no, it definitely is something that. Would you recommend meditation to people? Maybe that's a subject, like a
Oh
very
yeah.
obvious question, but.
Well, yeah, definitely. I would recommend meditation. There are soft meditation, and there are the spiritual meditation.
Hmm.
There's a difference because for indigenous peoples, and we believe in our ancestors, right? So our ancestors can connect with us through our meditation. So can also the spirits, the living spirits, the spirits of nature, or even archangels or other uh, um, good spirits. The simple meditation will basically be, like, oh, stop running around. Hey kids, stop, take a deep breath, count to five, and then cool down, right? So that's
Hmm.
very basic. But the advanced meditation is, taking yourself into a higher dimension in your consciousness to connect with the God source or the creator source, and with the spiritual level. So I've been trying to do that over the past few months, and there have been very amazing feelings, consciousness
Hmm.
that I can get. I even saw myself swinging. Uh, I saw myself in a swing
Okay.
on the other side, on the parallel dimension, swinging together with me.
Hmm.
It's amazing. But check it out. You did mention about the YouTube guided meditation. What helped me, and this time I was in Atlanta in September. A video by a person called Bert Goldman. Bert Goldman. So his guided meditation is very relaxing because he has a very deep tone. Close your
Oh, yeah.
eyes, and now imagine that you have violet colors embracing you, coming through the top of your head. Now it's coming through your legs. So that can be calming, very calming also. So yes, I would recommend meditation to everybody. But of course, those who are very high level in spirituality, they know what meditation is all about, and then they even can do astral travel.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Like for me at least, it came from a necessity, as in there were so many things on my mind, and it was like, have you ever had a burnout?
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
did you? Like, it's
like
for me, like I wanted to prevent that.
um, oh, hmm.
So
Have you
yeah.
been burnout?
No. Well, not well. I don't know how that feels.
Uh,
So I was, at least when I like, so 2017, mom passed away. Like a lot of things happened that really didn't,
mhm. Yeah.
that was hard to cope with, and so like meditation was one of them that really helped me, because I wanted to prevent from going into a burnout kind of thing. But I didn't know how that felt like. And one thing that I did, and I shouldn't have done, was Google it. Like because like once you Google your symptoms, then you're basically already dead. Um, so I did that, and then so it came out of a necessity. Like, well, not necessity, prevention, maybe.
Hmm.
So that's how I took it on. So it's actually like, if like adverse thing, if like once you are hit with adverse situations, um like, you, at least with me, like it makes you realize a lot of things that are very important to you,
Yeah.
like your own mental health and mental state of mind. And so I did like the simple things, as in like taking care of myself first before I could take care of others, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I at first, before I was like meditation, nah, not for me. It's like a lot of, like new age stuff, and even though we're all indigenous, we all go into ceremonies and all our ways of doing. But still, like meditation was something for me. It was like, nah, not for me. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, like you just try it out, and it helps. And now it also helps me like to really. There's this whole misconception of out there that a lot of people have, is that it is about to clear your mind. And at least for me, it is about organizing my mind. It's all about like making sure that it's that I digested my thoughts, and making sure that there's what is important, what is not important, how should I
Yeah.
think about things. So it is tapping into that, like you said, like your higher consciousness, and trying to tap into that so it can help you out in the consciousness. And there's this book that I read, um,
Mm.
that is very interesting. It is do, 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 what is it? Joe Dispenza, is the author. Um, Shoot, what's the
Right.
name of the book?
Julie Spencer.
Yeah, and he's able to really not translate, but like describe actually what happens in your mind when you meditate, and what the possibilities are when you when you meditate. And and it can go from like going into like higher consciousness, and trying to be aware of yourself, of your thoughts, as well as it can go into curing diseases, and stuff like that. Shoot, what's the name of the book again? Anyway, so yeah, it is one of man. Yeah, he wrote a lot of books.
Mm.
Anyway, yeah. Uh, Shoot. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know how we got to this, but like it is definitely that.
Uh,
Um, yeah, help me a lot. And yeah, it's. I see a lot of people like you go. Well, we know each other through the Sydney Freedom Forum and the Youth Caucus, and we'll definitely tap into that in a bit. Um, but I see a lot of people that, and love to hear what you think about it. Is that they go and they're so overwhelmed, and there's practically don't know what to do. Hear all these, these human rights violations, and not only do they get discouraged, but they get like overwhelmed, right? So, and I think like something like simple as in meditation or ceremony like will definitely help
yeah.
people like to before they go to the UN, or like something that you could do at the youth caucus, by the way, like you.
Yeah. Oh,
um
I gotta tell you something. I have a story exactly about this. Anyway,
oh, go ahead.
okay. Yeah. So preparing yourself for global work is very important. And as you embark from your community or from your nation, and you have a target to deliver a statement at the Permanent Forum or at AMRIP, I think it's good to know that you are carrying the aspirations of the past, present, and future. I took a habit while I was in Pinampang, or in Sabah, Malaysia, when I'm working for Pacos, and that's where a lot of uh, a lot of our friends, I mean, a lot of us recognize my participation through Pacos. So before I embark on a work at the UN, I will have a quiet time the night before or the first thing in the morning, and just speak to ancestors and nature and say, "Hi everyone. you know who I am. I have a very important work to do. I'm going here. I'm taking this flight. I am going to be staying here and here, and I'm gonna be delivering a message through this, right? And I just speak out to the Creator and to ancestors around me, and I said, come and follow me and guide me, and at the same time see what's happening with your indigenous children as we gather at the permanent forum. And I remember coming home from one of the permanent forums. I think it was in 2016, and on the night I got home, I had a dream that I was in the presence of uh, women women with shrouds and sarong, and they were gathering all around in a circle, and there I was with them, and they were whispering and they were singing like a chanting, and then when I actually focused, then it came to my mind that the ancestors followed me. They came with me and they escorted me. And I got up the next day and I said, "Hi, ancestors here in the village. Thank you for keeping me safe. Thank you for coming with me." That's one uh, experience that I had. But of course, here is another example of how we connect ourselves with our ancestors and we travel. There has been three international flights from KK to Kuala Lumpur to Dubai or to Doha to New York. And on these three flights to and fro, the seat beside me in a full aircraft is
Mhm.
empty.
Mm.
So when I come home and I talk to the members of my community and I tell them, I said, it's very funny. All throughout the circuit, the seat beside me is empty. Oh yeah, because that's reserved for your ancestor. That's reserved for your guardian who's traveling with you. And I'm like, oh yeah, I dig this. Yeah. What do you think about that, Ghazali? Have you ever experienced that?
The presence of elders and ancestors. Uh, yeah, especially in times when I really feel that, like, not to sound very dramatic, but it's like when you feel the weight of the indigenous world on your shoulders.
Right.
Like in some instances, and then that's when I become very aware
Mm,
of the presence, and I also talk a lot to my mom.
mm,
So yeah, just like, all right, how would you do it? Just let me know. And so, like, I always feel comfort in the presence, and that is, if that's, that along with meditation, like, I think, like, meditation comes is a good vehicle to come into connection with them, with ancestors, and people that you look up to, because they can also be alive still, like, at least in my view, like,
mm, mm-hmm,
through just yeah, these thoughts,
mm-hmm,
you can tap into their energy.
mm,
So yeah, it's, and then it can I try to summon it, as in, like, well, summon is maybe not the best word to describe it, but, like, right, what would Atama do,
mm-hmm.
or what would my mom do? And then you just, like, sit there and be quiet, just be yourself.
Yeah.
I remember once it was in Bonn, negotiations, and there was I think one of many important meetings,
Mm,
and everybody was like, all right, you need to say this, you need to say that. So, like, they all giving me instructions, Indigenous peoples, not states, but Indigenous peoples. And so everyone went in, and I just felt the need to stay outside for at least like just for a couple minutes, for a couple moments.
Mm-hmm.
Just take a deep breath and just relax and just like be.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think that was something that I very much needed
Mm-hmm.
before I went into the negotiations, into the room. Otherwise, yeah, you'll be so like on edge
Mm-hmm.
and just and like I don't know, like maybe like if you just if I just take a deep breath, relaxed, I felt like my shoulders like relax a lot more. And then I just when I walked in, it was much better. Felt much better, and I think if I haven't done that, like the outcome could have been different, at least, or my mindset would have been different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know.
Mindset. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So yeah, like it is. Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
You mentioned Bonn. So I was at the COP 23,
Oh
and
yeah. Hmm.
we met there, and that was, hey Gazali, it happened there. The platform that Indigenous peoples finally got a hold on, it happened in Bonn, COP 23, and I'm so humbled to be there to do what I came to do and just contribute a little bit to that. So in Bonn, I also experienced something. So I was part of the Rosa Lux delegation, and
Hmm.
I was speaking for a session called "Out of the Box: Thinking on Climate Change." And this session had invited people from the industry. And really, as an indigenous person, we don't know really how to speak to people in industry. Those guys who create solar powered planes, those guys who create, so many crazy stuff, or unimaginable stuff.
Hmm.
So what I did was, before the speaker spot came to me, I just said a prayer, and then I reached out to my komburungo, which I brought. It's a root, a small root I brought, and I said, "Hi." I took on the speaker, and I said, "Okay, I'm Hun Hu. I just wanted to speak to you together with the spirit of nature. And if it touches your heart, if it speaks to you, if it speaks to your spirit, then that is the message for you." So I did 5 minutes. I ended up with a short rhyme. I didn't expect anything, because these guys were like totally geeks, very suit tie looking,
Mm.
millionaires looking. So so after we finished that session, this dude came up to me, and he was crying, bro. He was crying. He had tears. I looked at him, and he said, "You really spoke to my heart. I didn't pay attention to all other speakers, but you really spoke to my heart." And I actually spoke about the relationship of indigenous peoples to the sky,
Mm.
because where we know that there are sky spirits, and then we have ceremonies and rituals to connect with them. So apparently, this person, he makes solar powered planes. So in one of my small bits, I did say, when you want to explore nature, you need to get permission. And if you don't get permission, you are not able to carry out what you do. And then that's when he came up to me, he cried, and he said, "Oh, he spoke to my heart." And I said, "Thank you very much, brother. This message is for you. So when you want to develop your planes, do remember that the earth is alive." And that,
That's powerful.
yeah,
It's very powerful.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
it is something that a lot of people need to understand. I think is that you have to like it is all about respect, and respect also like it comes with like asking permission,
Yeah.
from the environment, from the elements. And
Yeah.
I think that is something that people would have need to start understanding, that it's like, if I take something for you, well, I have to ask permission as well. So what makes you think that you don't have to do that when it comes to, like, other things that have to deal with the nature? Like, the nature is not for your um leisure, or something that you can use just for yourself. It is something
Yeah.
that it is
That we
alive.
take for granted.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
whatever is alive, it has, like, you have to ask permission from it. Like,
Yeah.
it is as simple as that. And it is, yeah. By the way, how did you end up in, like, because I only saw you like a couple of times in Bond. Like,
Yeah.
you were crazy busy.
Yeah. So
um
like
in Bond.
so the delegation that invited me was through the CSO.
Mm.
And the accredited organization based in Manila, Ebon International, has a climate justice program. So through them, I traveled to Bonn, and I go directly to the People's Climate Conference. So that's the activity that happens outside of the COP. That's where they have those tents, and they have
Right. Yeah.
the protests, and then they visited the coal mines. They did an action there, a very straight up climate justice networking. So I got accreditation just for the first week in the official conference. Otherwise, a week earlier, I was outside with the People's Summit, People's Climate Conference. But it was really good to see you there. And do you remember? We had a short chat with the
You introduced me
Malaysia.
to someone.
Yes, the
Yeah. Yeah.
Malaysia
Yeah.
representative.
Hmm.
So that guy, that gentleman, I forgot his name.
Yeah. Me too.
He's the Director General of the Malaysian Palm Oil Promotion Board.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Oh. Okay.
yeah. So it was a very nice meeting with the gentleman. And yeah, I introduced you to him,
Yeah. Yeah. I
and then
remember.
he sent some Bahasa Malaysia to you too.
Yes. Yes. I remember that one, that we were able to converse in, well, Bahasa Malaysia, Malay, Indonesia a little bit. And
Mm,
I remember it was a short meeting, because it was like downstairs, right, in the cafeteria. Everyone there
yeah,
was a very
yeah,
quick meeting. But like, it's also so always so funny that a lot of important meetings, and that always not just happen like in those meeting rooms, but also like very much in cafeteria, when you're standing in line to get coffee, and
yes.
everywhere else. And it's like the funny thing is, like, right before we went live, I tried to recall when was the first time I met Atama.
Mm,
um and it was a Project Access, definitely, that I know. But that wasn't in terms of getting acquainted, but it was during the introductions. You remember that one? That
oh,
was, yeah.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember
So
the
yeah,
introduction. Maybe I don't recall what I did. Do you remember?
it was like, first was Eleanor. Remember Eleanor
Yeah,
Goro?
yeah, Eleanor Goro.
She went first, and then, because we all did the simple introduction, like your name, Indigenous affiliation, where you're from, what you like to accomplish at the Perm Forum, and then like everyone, I remembered, Aaron. Remember Aaron Hinkle?
Yes, Erin Henkel. I do remember her.
Yeah. So I remember her face, because she was like, well, she was like, had to do all the documentation stuff. And so while everyone was doing their introductions, she was just, she had papers in her hand. She had to like organize those papers. And then when you started to, I think you started to rap. So like you did your whole hip hop thing, and she was like, oh my God. And everyone was like, holy shit. Yeah, like that. And it was such a different way of presenting yourself. And I think like so that came into my mind when I tried to recall like when was the first time that I met Atama. And it was, I think, which year was that? Remember that one? 2000?
That was 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Yeah.
Shit, man, that's 8 years, bro.
Yeah.
Happy eighth year knowing Gazali Ohorela.
Yeah, eighth year friends anniversary. Like Facebook does that a couple times, right? The
Yeah.
friendversary thing. So yeah, like was that your first time to the UN, or did you go
That was
before?
that was that was that was first time to the permanent forum.
Okay.
Um, but it was a very there's a story actually for that. And do you remember Ghazali? I had a cameraman with me, a quite chubby gentleman who was following me all around, except the
Hmm.
UN. Well,
Could be.
anyway.
Yes. I remember that one.
Okay.
Hmm.
So one of the missions that I had was to make a documentary film,
Okay.
and it's called Sising Dion at the Verge of Extinction. So so I met so here's like how me and Ellie meet you in Project Access. So a year before Project Access, I knew Ellie through art. So I was performing here and there, and she was doing her beads, and she said, "Hey, Atama, here's the thing. I want to invite you to Indigenous Peoples activities." And I said, "If yeah, sure, why not?" And she said, "Well, at that time, I had already been organizing, or rather, I came to help or give solidarity to the indigenous peoples who had court cases.
Hmm.
So when they had a court case and then they had a protest, I would come over, and as indigenous artist, I just sit with them. I'll talk to them and I'll shout together with them. And then Eleanor says, "Hey, man, you should come to New York." And I said, "Hey, that's a great idea." And I'm like, how am I gonna fund this thing? I don't know DOSIP. I don't know the voluntary fund. So I wrote a proposal. I wrote a proposal to the National Film Grant of Malaysia, and then they gave me some money to film what I did in New York as a small part. So that film I haven't launched yet.
I
It's
was
it's
about to
way
ask, like, where's that film?
Yeah, it's way overdue. So
Okay.
I had a little problem with the National Film Organization because
Mm.
I had a late submission over and over again, and I got tired of going to Kuala Lumpur and to go there and get this advice. And so I said, okay, I think I'm not able to complete this, but I'm going to give you what I have. And one thing led to another. There was no follow up. So I have the video with me, the film with me, but it hasn't been shown to the public, except in COP23 in Bonn.
Hmm. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Is it? Yeah, you should like post it somewhere, like online, or
yeah,
like would be
yeah,
very interesting to watch. Like,
yeah, yeah.
what's oh yeah, I think that was the lead up to the question as well. It's like how when did you know that like hip hop, or would you call it hip hop? Would you call it rap? Like what is your niche? What is the thing that
Uh,
you, how would you classify it?
okay. Um, DJ producer or
Okay.
just DJ MC. Boom, that's it. Because before I was rapping, I was already DJing in the clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
like all sorts. hip hop, R&B, even up to trance music. It came a time by the year 2001, I wanted to make my own beats. So this is the story in the film. So I was DJing in the main Kuala Lumpur city, and I came back to my hometown, and reorganized myself, found some inspiration, started recording, and by 2005, I released my first album entitled My Tribal Roots. And oh, here's one thing that I remember in my declaration or in my prayer. I said to myself after releasing the album in 2005, and I said, in 10 years' time, I will speak these rap verses to the world.
Hmm.
And in 2012, I introduced myself at the Project Access through a rap, and that was
Yeah.
from my first album. It's amazing, man. It's really amazing. When we set on that journey, phew, we never know how it's going to happen and who we're going to
Did
meet.
did you know that? When did you know, or how did you develop your journey in music? Like, how did it start from when you were young, or how did that go?
Um, my parents are musicians or artists. My dad particularly is a music master. So I was born into already a performing arts family, mainly on vocals, and I got really encouraged by my parents. If there was a party, I'd be the one encouraged to sing, and I'd drop one song, or I'll dance, and then, and it went on. But until I reached my teenage days, and I found hip hop. So then I'm like, whoa, I like this stuff. I want to dance to this stuff. I want to sing to this stuff. I want to make music to this stuff. And then later, instead of going to music school, I went to the clubs to start scratching and mixing vinyls while I was still in high school.
Hmm. Okay, so that's how it all started. Man, that is
Yeah,
it's quite a journey. And
it's a crazy journey, amazing journey.
yeah, you think, is it um yeah, this is maybe a strange question, but this journey, is it where you want it to be, or is there something up ahead that you really are working towards?
This journey is uh, I'm you can say that I'm walking this journey, and I am, well, you can say I've submitted to the journey, not in a way that, oh, it's my fate, I'm fated to do this. No, because I have motivation and I have the aspiration to change, but to change any part of the journey. But this journey in life, and coming through as an artist DJ, the first part of my dream came true, which was uh, make music and then share the music to a global audience. But then, while I was doing my music at the local level, things, well, there was, like a pendulum, right? you
Hmm.
know what you give, you get back. I did receive some negative energy, negative stuff, when I first started my first two albums. So I got slack, and when I step back and I say, hey, how come I'm getting this kind of stuff? I'm giving something positive, but I'm receiving some backlash. So later in life, as I grew older, then I recognized the duality, right? The yin and the yang. You give, you receive, and you give. Um, it happens at the local level for me as a DJ, artist producer, and it also happens the same way as I am journeying through the international stage for the work for advocacy on indigenous peoples. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah. Okay. And all right, let's drive into that a little bit, like the international work,
Right.
because you showed me a post, I think it was early this morning, that, or like, it was Manuel that shared something, Manuel Ibanez from that lives in New York right now,
Mm.
about the anniversary of the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So is that today? I think that's very very coincidental, actually, that we're talking on
Mm.
about
Yeah,
things. Do you believe in coincidence, by the way? Sorry, quick sidestep.
I I do. I do
Okay.
believe in coincidence. I also believe in deja vu too.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. What is
Anything is
that?
possible, man. Yeah. So
100%.
yeah, Ghazali, GIYC, 14
Yeah.
years ago, or 12 years or 14,
I don't know. Like, so what? 2014. That will be 2006.
right? Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. I
So
think I
yeah,
think that I think that's about it. Yeah.
we should give a shout out to our colleagues and
Go ahead,
uh,
man. Like,
very
you're
good
better in a
friends.
better way to do that.
But hey, guys, I also want to recognize you as one of the members of the GIYC or the UNIYC. I recognize this because there were three of you nominated as co-chairs to coordinate the World Conference of Indigenous People, right? So it was you, Gazali Oharela, it was Tanya from Peru, and it was Eleanor Goro, and the three of you coming from the UNIYC, GIYC unofficial.
Um, let's see. Let's see. Well, for the World Conference, for the
Uh
World
huh.
Conference, I was for the Pacific region, not necessarily for the Youth Caucus. And for the Youth Caucus, I remember, like, the first meeting that I went to was Jocelyn. Jocelyn was talking a lot. Well, not talking a lot, but like she was repping the
She
Youth
has so
Caucus.
yes.
And I
She's
think
amazing.
all of a sudden, yeah, all of a sudden, yeah, the Youth Caucus had to nominate representatives. Yeah, Eleanor
Mm.
was one. Who else? Uh, what are the other names you mentioned? Sammy, Eleanor.
Tanya,
Oh yeah,
Tanya.
yeah, Tanya, Eleanor, and probably Thomas.
Mm.
Thomas could be.
Mm.
I'm not sure, actually. But that was the funny thing is, when I was asked last year to talk a little bit about the youth caucus, when how it all came about, at
Mm.
the youth caucus preparatory meeting for the Perm Forum. Were you there? I can't remember. No, you weren't there, right? Oh,
No,
no, no. Yeah, you took a break. Oh, good for you, man. Well, we all should need it. We all should take a break. I don't know how to take breaks. Uh, yeah, I remember saying that, um, the youth caucus before, it was actually just a bunch of young kids.
Mhm.
It was actually started out in Geneva, way before the youth caucus at the Perm Forum was created. It was just a couple of, yeah, it was this our parents, like, well, so my mom took me with to the UN, and then you saw somewhere else, being dragged along by his or her dad or mom, and we just sat around at a table and just talked about stuff,
Mm.
and then we figured, hey, maybe we can do something, and then I think one of our parents was like, well, you should start, try to come up with a statement, for youth. It wasn't even a caucus back then. It was like a handful of people, like three or four
Mm.
young kids, and I think that whole thing developed actually into actually a recognized caucus, and then so yeah, I was quite amazed actually how the whole youth caucus came about. It was, I think, there was yourself, Jocelyn, Thomas, and many others that actually took it to a whole another level, with vocal points and how did like how, that's what always amazes me, like the youth caucus, like how it came to structure itself way better than what we had back then, the global caucus, with
Hmm.
the quote
Hmm.
unquote grown-ups.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it was yeah, very interesting. Like, can you tell me a little bit about like your how you started to out in the global in the youth caucus.
Oh. Um, it was actually out of necessity,
Mm.
or as a substitute. And I say this because in 2012, the Asia Indigenous Youth Representative from Indonesia, Parabas,
Pabaras, yeah.
Simon Parabas, and Jocelyn were representing Asia to the UN Youth Caucus.
Hmm.
And I met them there. I went to their session, and I got really fond of the energy and the spirit that they had. But there was a more important message in 2012 because of it was the demand of a greater space inside the UN for the youth. And
Hmm.
if you remember, in one of the sessions, the GIYC did a they did a picket, they did a
Yeah.
protest inside the grounds of the UN, and it surprised the UN body. Um, it sent a very strong message to all of the rooms and all subsequent sessions, because I remember I was in various sessions together with Project Access,
Hmm.
and that's how we did our interventions through Project Access, and not necessarily myself with the GIYC. But I noticed that the voice was heard in all the rooms. All
Yeah.
the elders, all the caucuses said in their statements, each and every statement, please ensure that the youths that did a protest earlier on today or a few days ago get their UN badge back, right?
Yeah, because
And
so people know that your the badges were taken away by the
yeah,
UN security.
that's right. The badge was
Yeah.
taken away, and then the GIYC members weren't allowed to come in the UN again. So
Hmm.
you had then the elders speaking for the youths and saying, we demand you guys to listen to the youths. They want the space. They want to talk about things. They want their own organizational institutions in the UN. So then, boom. Now, I'll come back to my involvement. So in 2012, the IP youths from Asia, Simon, Jocelyn, and Eleanor Goro were already organizing the GIYC. But coming back from the permanent forum back to country level, we had a discussion at country level, and there was a change of baton to the next person who would be representing the Asia region there. So
Hmm.
what we did, we had a consultation among the youth groups in Asia, especially through the APIAN, Asia Pacific Indigenous Youth Network. So we facilitated a selection process, and then there was nomination, and a few names came up. I was nominated and I was selected to that particular role, and so I had to come from the regional level, then to the global level, to the New York level, and from there represent the region. So that is the kind of structure that we have, unique to Asia, and I am pretty sure other regions also have the same processes. So it was out of like a substitution, because They wanted a strong English speaker, and then the fact that Simon wanted to do a lot more community work, community organizing with the Dayak people at country level. He said to me, "Brother, we need somebody strong to represent Asia at that GIYC," and that's how I came through from 2013. And my first mission was participation at the World Conference of Indigenous People in Alta, Norway. So that's how it came about. And I took 3 years of the mandate from Asia, and then I stepped down in 2017, representing Asia and the youth.
Yeah, because you also co-chair, right, of the youth caucus.
Yeah, yeah. Nominated and selected co-chair 2016,
Yeah.
2017, yeah.
How was that for you?
Oh, well, first, first of all, I gotta make it straight because it's 14th anniversary of GIYC. Some of us exceed the age limit of
Okay.
being youth. So some interpretation are 15 years to 25 years. Some countries have 18 to 35. Some even have 15 to 45. So I'm one of them that kind of out of the range, but still wanted to participate and give the best that I got.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that year was very big for the GIYC because uh, we got engagement with the Food and Agriculture Organization. So the GIYC went out to Rome in 2017 in February or March, and we made a very strong recommendation to Food and Agriculture Organization that they can host an annual or a biannual Indigenous Youth Forum in Rome through through FAO. So we took that on. We had a very strong team to lobby, and we got the language in. And then, what do you know? The next year, or the few months later, coming to the permanent forum, Food and Agriculture Organization makes an announcement at the permanent forum that they are going to host every 2 years um, uh, permanent forum for indigenous youths at FAO. Um, Here, I got to recognize the co-chairs with me, which is Dwayne Fraser from Australia and Sarah Yankee from Turtle Island. So the three of us coordinated the whole process. It took many conversations. It took many Skype sessions to prepare for us to get that. Um, I know there are very good progress happening for the permanent forum for the indigenous youths. Um, and I think it's going to be great once it kicks off. They have some minor adjustments to do. The last I spoke to FAO, they have some minor adjustments to do with budgeting, and we were assured that they're going to give us that space every 2 years for us to discuss our issues on FAO.
Oh, that's quite an
So
accomplishment, man. Like, congrats. Like that you. Well, it's been a couple years ago, but still, like, I think that's congratulations are due. Because there's not a lot of things that, yeah, we can. Well, of course, there's a lot of things, but like there's this. We have to celebrate these moments,
yeah,
of when we accomplish things, because those are very rare, actually. So cool, man. And so because I'm very interested, like, in how you yeah, are able to be yourself, as a raptivist, as a producer, DJ, um, as well as an advocate, as well as a representative for your peoples. So how do you? Because because I think that's why I wanted to ask you the question, like how are we able to do it as in a leadership position, for example, as a co-chair? Well, um, did you by the way, yeah, did you face a lot of pushback, not from as you being a co-chair, but like in decision making or
Mm,
stuff like that? Because well, maybe I should do it with my own examples that when I
yeah,
was in
yeah.
leadership positions, it is um, very quickly I realized that it's not about making political decisions, but about facilitating the decision
That's the
making
word.
process.
It's all about facilitating.
Right.
Leadership is all about facilitating, letting the caucus, letting the members take on the decision making,
Hmm. And then
basically.
it is. I think I'm very glad that we see, at least you and I see eye to eye to that, because I know that there are a lot of people out there that see it differently. Every time well, you see, yeah, people that they're when they go into those leadership positions or co-chairs, that they try to do it for their own gain, trying to push their own causes,
Hmm.
and uh, that is something that I like. For example, during World Conference, that I realized that
Mm.
it is not about my own issues. It's not about the people of Maluku and the Alifuru people, but it is about all the Indigenous peoples of not only of the Pacific but of the
Mm.
entire world.
Right.
And that realization helped me structure my mindset, set my mindset when in meetings and when I had to do consultations and stuff. So, and you also see that there are a lot of people. Once, at least this is what I experienced. Uh, some people put you on a pedestal, or not a pedestal, but they put you up there, to guide them, to lead them.
Mm.
But there are also unfortunately people in the movement, that are indigenous, that love to do nothing more than to knock you down.
Mm.
You know that they're being very negative, or try to spread discredit you, or spread rumors about you that are simply not true.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I'm interested, like, in how what yeah at least that's from my perspective, like how was your tenure as a co-chair, how was that?
Um, well, I set a point, to me personally, not to go more than 1 year, knowing that I had a age limitation. It was already bothering me personally.
Okay.
I spoke to the members about it, especially the coaches, and I said, I'd like not to continue, but there is a way to now connect with past um, youth leaders who have contributed so much to the movement, and it is by doing a what do you call it, an advisory role. So in 2017, when we had our caucus meeting in New York, and it was the selection of the co-chairs, we proposed whether it would be a good idea to have an advisory group
Hmm.
of like-minded or past co-chairs to continue sharing the institutional memory, for GIYC to pass on to the next torchbearers. And it was received well. And from then on, they nominated me. Well, I kind of self-nominated, and then they endorsed it
Hmm.
to be one of the advisors in the GIYC. And since then, it's I think it's regularly practiced by the current leadership of GIYC. So I think this is a very positive thing also to connect with the present leadership of GIYC. On what you said about the um, the the negative, or you know when you say about outshining other people and then putting people down. I think that is an attitude which is very selfish. um, you, when we get to a certain position mandated, we shouldn't even think about putting others down just because of political differences, um, the differences of determination of each region and the elements of each region, because each region is so dynamic. There are so many thought forms, and if there is one thought coming from one region and to be in a position of power to dictate over the whole global caucus, then that would be very negative. And I have to tell you, Ghazali, in the GIYC, there was an experience like that. And I think all of us then in 2013, 2014 experienced it, because that got us out of the negotiation with member states, leading towards the World Conference of Indigenous Peoples.
Hmm. Can you talk about that a little more? Because not a lot of
Okay.
people know that.
Oh yeah. So for my colleagues in the Indigenous Youth Caucus, um, what happened was, in the lead up to the World Conference, there was a misinterpretation of the meaning and the intention to have a world conference for indigenous peoples. As the aspirations for the self-determination was very strong, especially in every region, there is different intentions of the regions. So when the World Conference was set up for 2014, and there were processes leading up to it, there were voices calling the World Conference of Indigenous Peoples as a sham.
Mm-hmm.
There were voices claiming that the WCIP process is co opted by the states, it is co opted by the UN, and it is not for indigenous peoples. So there were some dissenting voices, and their voices were heard. So as we went through the processes, we noticed that these voices keep creeping up. Um, and it went to Alta, Norway, where one member from GIYC spoke out in the opening plenary that the GIYC does not recognize the World Indigenous Peoples Conference, the WCIP,
Mm-hmm.
and that created a sour position throughout the whole conference in Alta, coming from the youth perspective. The leadership was very concerned, and so there were many nights of non-stop discussions between all the regions, as there was one particular region that was very adamant on a voice of dissident.
Mm-hmm.
um, we we managed to come up with a statement in our position as the youth caucus that time, and submitted it to you, the co-chair of WCIP. But however, because that we did not have a global consensus of our statement, we the youth fell short. And in the process, the next process, which was the engagement with the UN member states for a period of 2 months in New York, where Ghazali and all the leaders from each of the regions have to stay in New York for 2 months, right? You guys
Yeah.
were sleeping on the UN sofas. You guys were sleeping on the desk. You guys were organizing the friendly states. You guys were talking to the anti-indigenous people states, or those states who are in the middle. The youth did not have that chance to participate, simply because we couldn't come up with a global consensus to agree with the holding of the World Conference for Indigenous People. So that was a real setback, and that was a very hard lesson for the youths then. 2014. Oh, that was
Yeah,
almost like a
I really hope that the future youth and members of the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus keep like this becomes part of the institutional memory of how not to engage with one another, how not to try to reach from consensus or block things. If
yeah,
six regions are in agreement that as a seventh region, we should not be holding like a veto power over everyone else's head and blocking consensus. And I think I remember very well how that happened because I was the co-chair of the global coordinating group, and I remember it was during the Perm Forum because back then you still had your meetings at the UNICEF building, right?
right.
Across the hall from the across the street from the UN. And I remember that who was it? I think it was Thomas. Thomas that he invited me as a co-chair of the GCG to explain to the youth the World Conference. And here again, here comes the misconception that people have about leadership positions is that you cannot um, talk about your own personal views. Yeah, especially when you're come from a global platform like the GCG, you can
Oh,
only say what we have
yes.
agreed to. So North America was about to pull out of the GCG. Already did. I can't remember what happened or when. I remember that I was invited, and I took time out of the Pacific Caucus because you guys meet early in the morning, Pacific Caucus as well, and went up to the meeting room, and all of a sudden, people were like, some people at least, others were like, hey, finally someone that from the GCG like willing to explain what the entire World Conference is all about. And someone said like, if he's coming in, I'm leaving. Like immediately that veto, that blocking idea. So I was like, oh, hold on. Like I thought you all agreed to this because I was invited by the co-chairs, not by someone, just someone. I was invited by the co-chairs. And I remember that I was waiting outside. So I had to wait outside for the youth caucus to decide whether or not to let me in.
Mm.
Like I had to wait like for almost for an hour and 15 minutes before the co-chairs came out. And in a way, like in retrospect, is very disrespectful, and I should have like walked away. But like I really wanted to like stick and like because I also came from the youth caucus like years before
Mm.
that. I wanted to be honor their request, so I just hung around. And then, but when the coaches came out, they said, "Well, not like it's people are very." That's what they said. One of them said, like people are very uncomfortable with you talking. I'm like, I just the only thing that I can do is to explain the World Conference from a GCG position and not like vent what I think. And it is my role also to take into account the views of Indigenous peoples that are not in the GCG, like the youth caucus, or like yeah. So anyway, yeah, their minds was pretty set, so I left, and while I was walking downstairs, I was like, well, take the elevator down, and then was about to make my way back to the UN. Like people were outside, not from the youth caucus, but like from like the older people outside waiting for me. Like, why did you go to the youth caucus? Like, if if you're going to talk to the youth caucus, I'm going to. I also want to talk to the youth caucus. I'm like, you're free to do so, but I don't say that. The only thing that I can say is like I was invited to talk and to talk about what the World Conference is, what it isn't. No, and it is in my role like as a co-chair.
Mhm.
So that's when I already started to feel that the whole yeah the toxicity at least during the World Conference. Ottawa was something else, and I agree that if the youth caucus didn't have those their particular issues. If there wasn't, if they really wanted to, well, here's the thing: if everyone worked in good faith with one another, um, we would have a much stronger language on indigenous
Yeah.
youth in the outcome
Ex-
document.
exactly. Exactly. I really have to agree with you on this. We had a we had a s- we had seven, no, no, maybe 70 is exaggerating, but we had more than 40 points recommendation for the articles in WCIP coming out of Alta, and to be not in the negotiation with member states because we couldn't get a consensus because there were personalities that was blocking or was didn't want to cooperate. At the end of the day, we lost out.
Yeah,
And World Conference for Indigenous, the outcome document only had one article
yeah.
for the youth.
And that particular article, it was on the merits and the efforts of yourself and the other groups that other your colleagues from the youth caucus that were in the informal consultations leading up to the world conference itself during the negotiations. Because but that was like the last straw actually that you
That
could
was
hold
yes,
on to.
that was the last straw. I mean, we were already devastated. Our members were crying, man. Guys, we're like, why didn't we get there? Oh, so there was we were in shambles. But somehow
Here's
or other, somebody from high up, maybe a member state, requested for the youths to step up. For the youth to be invited into the negotiations with the member states at the very end of the process.
Mhm. Well, there is at least what I know from a GCG side. Like uh, the only thing that because you had your own structure, like the Global News Caucus had its own structure, had your own co-chair. So
Mhm.
uh, we could not. We wanted to invite you to the meetings, and you participated in our meetings, and in terms of negotiations, in terms of positions, like, we can only take on board what you agreed to as a collective.
Right.
And
Yes.
the problem was that when, because I remember this, there was the youth caucus had a position or had a position paper, probably one of those the many comments you had on the document. Um, we received it, and all of a sudden, like only like 5 minutes after that, another email came in from other youth from a particular region saying, well,
Mhm.
no, that is not representative of our position. This is our position, or this is our regional position, and you need to take that into account, which is like the total opposite. It's not even nuanced, but it's the total opposite, 180 degrees to what the youth caucus was proposing or wanted to say. And we as so the lobbying team were you talking about the one that was like permanently in New York for like six months, we were like, well, what do we do with it? So reach out to the co-chairs, and the co-chairs, well, that they had to deal with it like internally. So
Mhm.
we
Yeah.
could not move with the indigenous youth position without the go ahead, like without the consensus, and I think that is something that the youth caucus, but not just youth caucus, but everyone in general should be very, very much aware of. Like, fine if you like in a World Conference context, it is fine if you disagree with the World Conference, that you don't want it to happen. You think that it waters down our rights. Fine, everyone is entitled to their opinion and to their position. I'm not one to take that right away from you. Um, but you should, if you disagree with something, step out of the process
Mhm.
and let people that do want to engage with that process, let them deal with it. But you cannot say like, hey, we disagree with the process, but we're still gonna stay in just to railroad the whole thing, because that is working in bad faith.
Yes.
And from an Indian's point of view, you got to at least, we always have to talk through states. So we depend on our solidarity on the movement, that good faith is the very basis that we need to work with, like that we need to rely upon. So I think that is, in retrospect, like if you analyze this, and that that is something that the youth caucus like really needs to like work on. I'm probably like already worked on it, because like we're not almost already like 6 years after that. um but like prevent that things, stuff like that from happening again, because
Yes, yes, yes.
it's only detrimental to our global position and our global agenda. That it's
Mhm.
uh yeah, it would be tough. And the thing that, like, you talk about a youth caucus, right? So at least how I have it in my mind is that, like, from at a certain point, you graduate from the youth caucus into like the global movement. Like, you're already part of the movement, but like you graduate towards
Yeah.
the grown-ups, right? Well, we don't have a caucus right now, but um I see it as like, do it right in the youth caucus so you can do it right in the larger movement. If you do it wrong in the youth caucus, you will do it wrong as well in the larger movement. So, and I think that is something, like, in terms of, we all have to learn a lot, like, not just youth, but also like all the other caucuses as well. So I don't know. It's just a thought, like, when you started talking about like the difficulties that youth were having in the run up to the World Conference. And it's, yeah, man, like I because it was the you guys that went to the negotiations in New York, and with the help of New Zealand
Yeah.
and and
Oh, that
one or
was a
two
beautiful
countries.
moment, Gazali. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
That I will never forget.
talk about it. Explain the
Okay.
moment.
All right. Okay. So, in conjunction with the 14th anniversary of GIYC, just wanted to share about the very beautiful moment when we were in the final stage of the negotiation for the outcome document. So, as you know, as what Ghazali was saying, we got kicked out of the process because we couldn't agree. But there was an olive branch that was handed to the GIYC that time, which allowed for four indigenous representatives from four regions to come to New York for 2 days to meet the states, and to lobby them. So
Hmm.
let me mention the colleagues: Maria from Latin
Venezuela.
America,
Yeah.
Venezuela; Alexei Tsekarev, who is now MRIP, no,
Her forum. Yes. Yeah.
Permanent Forum member. And then third is colleague Thomas Aslak Juso, who is Deputy President of Sami
No,
Parliament.
he is the president now.
He's the president.
He
Oh
is he
my
is the
gosh.
president now. Yeah.
Oh man. Okay. So props out to three of these colleagues. So when we got to New York, Ghazali, we knew that the world was on our shoulder. So the four of us just came up with a plan and say, all right, guys, we need to come up with specific recommendation for the member states. And that's what we did. We ran up to the 26th floor. We printed out 100 copies of our talking points, negotiation points, and every morning in the negotiation, each of the member state had our recommendation, and we divided the task among us. Maria would take on the Spanish-speaking states. Myself take on the Asia states, and the and you know how it goes.
Hmm.
So that's when we got noticed. So as we were doing our morning rounds, the members were like, "Oh, if you're from the youth, do you have any statement inside the negotiation
Zero
text
draft.
and
Right. Yeah.
in the zero draft?" And we said, "That's why we need you to talk about it." Or they were like, "Okay, okay, if I get a chance, I will talk about it." Okay, so one thing led to another. First day, our statement was like that. The second day, it was more concise, and the outcome on the second day of negotiation. Oh my goodness, New Zealand. came out and stood up for us. They had the youngest staff from the
Yeah.
New Zealand mission to come and deliver a statement to support the youth article pertaining the youth, and we all stood together. They stood up with us, and it was a very beautiful moment. What I can say here is that out of the 40 recommendations that we made through ALTA, that one Article 15 of the outcome document was suffice for us who had such a challenge in getting the language inside the outcome document. And Article 15 speaks about the right to self-determination of a youth to determine what programs and what support that they should get as youth for education, for culture, for language, and also on traditional knowledge. So, you know, that was a very amazing moment. But it was also, Gazali, very hard work. That we were really under pressure. We celebrated after that and said, "Oh my God, whoa, good job!" So, hmm.
Didn't we celebrate it at that steak restaurant with Marion? You remember that
Oh
one?
yeah, yes, yes.
Yeah. Smith and
Uh,
Walensky's. You remember that one? And probably
Ooh,
after.
woohoo!
Yeah.
That was,
Um,
that was that was a valuable piece of steak.
oh, well, you guys deserved it, 100%. So, I don't want to take away the major accomplishment that you of that particular paragraph, the opposite paragraph of the World Conference outcome document. But I'm interested though, if you can speak to, like, if was there anything that you really wanted to have in the document, if you can remember still, that you really want to have it in the document but did not
Oh
get
yeah.
into it.
Well, what we wanted was technology,
Mm.
technology that passes through the land of indigenous people, on the land, and in the air of our indigenous territories. So technology theme, satellite, fiber optic. That is the well, we kind of thought that was the base of the inalienable rights to land. So I'll say technology. It didn't go in. Oh, anyway,
Hmm.
that was a long shot.
I can't remember actually having seen that, but that would be a very, very interesting one for me. Well, technology. Wow,
Yeah,
that's like
yeah.
kind of left field, but very, of course, very relevant. Especially
Yeah.
now, of course.
Especially now. And do you remember just a week ago, what the president of the United States of America, he said the U.S. wants right to explore what technology, artificial intelligence, what space exploration, mining, space mining. That's
Space
all based
mining.
on technology.
I don't know. I don't know what space mining. I don't know what space mining is. But then again, like, I don't know what half what he says. Um,
Mhm. Yeah.
Space mining. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the interesting thing is that you have also segued into that being in a representative role for your own peoples right now.
Mm.
Is that because I saw some news articles, man, that were very very promising, about the Dayak, and
Mhm.
people having a permanent presence in New York. And I think that is something that can be inspiring to a lot of indigenous peoples, that are first of all, what is the utopian view? What is the ultimate goal for your indigenous peoples? At
Oh,
least, what do you think?
well, there is no ultimate goal. Um, but there is political determination,
Mm.
and political determination can shape its goal according to time and space. So when it comes to an ultimate goal, I would say Article 13 of UN RIC, this is the right to self-determination, the right to political process, the right to traditional government. So this is what is very common for indigenous people, and especially for the Dayak people who collectively know themselves as Dayak in this part of the world, in Borneo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we have a plan to set up a permanent office at the UN, or in New York, so that we continue to advocate for um, our positions
Mm.
represent. I mean, positions where we are, where our territories are in three countries:
Right.
Malaysia, which is Sabah and Sarawak. I'm a native to Sabah. Brunei, and Indonesia, part or Kalimantan, part of Indonesia. So there are three countries. There are three member states in the island of Borneo, and the
Mm-hmm.
thinking is that the indigenous of Borneo have remained where they are, and remain since time immemorial. So the idea is to create an international representation body to speak for the Dayak of these three countries. And this is also a great experience for me now. And it is a great challenge to interpret the needs of the Dayaks, the needs of the Dayak leaders, the politicians, the NGOs, the individual activists, as well as other population in Borneo. So
Mm.
let me just backtrack a bit. So I was then the co-chair, no, the Asia representative to the GIYC, and I was invited to a meeting with the Dayak leaders in Pontianak, Kalimantan, and I gave a short presentation, and they just said, "Oh my goodness, we have a young man here who is speaking at the UN." And they said to me, "We would like you to be who you are and represent all of us and our aspirations from now on." And I said, "Yeah, okay, all right, there is a process, there is organizational development that we need to do." And then we've been doing that since 2015. And just this year, oh sorry, just last year, we have registered our second international organization through the government of Indonesia,
Mm-hmm.
called the Dayak International Organization. And this year, another registration was done through Indonesia as well, is the Mahkamah Hakim Adat Dayak Nasional, or the National Dayak Customary Justice Institution, recognized by the Indonesian government. So this customary justice institution is aspiring to advise the High Court of Indonesia on any matters pertaining to customary rights.
Hmm.
So that's at Indonesia level, and in Malaysia, a process is also going on to register the similar function organization, but through the government of Malaysia, to advocate or to be like advisory to the native court system or the civil court system of Malaysia. Now, to sum it up, um, then we will need to set up the international relations office in New York, and so that is where they have the elder council have mandated me to become the ambassador of the Dayak Peoples Organization to the UN. And fortunately, or rather unfortunately, COVID came.
Hmm.
Um, we have a delegation of 15 Dayak leaders who are scheduled to attend the permanent forum. This year's theme, which is SDG number 16,
Yeah.
peace and security. And the theme is a spectacular one. It is a spectacular one for Indigenous people. If we get this right, this theme will fly because it is about customary institutions that bring about security and peace in our movement and in our nations, and that is our customary adat system, customary justice, the shamans, the native chiefs, the hereditary chiefs. This is about them, and this could this could really have taken off. But yeah, COVID came, and we did not. We postponed our participation to the permanent forum. So yeah, that's to sum it up, Ghazali. Yeah, man. And like you said earlier on, um, I brave this. I take this on my shoulder, knowing that I have a little experience in the GIYC at the UN, as well as the permanent forum or all the UN mechanisms for indigenous peoples. I went through my rounds. I've paid my dues. I've got so much experience. I've been down, I've been up, and now I'm all adult. I'm all warrior mode now, and I have an idea on the positive way to target for my people and organization back home.
Wow. Do you are you going to engage in the oh, by the way, I just heard that perm forum will be there won't be a perm forum anymore this year. So the next one will be in
Uh,
2021. Just so you
I
know.
hope they I hope they maintain the theme though, because it is very important for us right now
Yeah.
in this time and space.
Oh, definitely. I think yeah, otherwise you can use, yeah, yeah. Otherwise, I would recommend the like the MRIP session, but we don't know if that's going to happen either. And I think that theme, also that you're going to have an office in New York, that will be much more relevant.
Mm.
Are you also going to participate or weigh in on the enhanced participation process? Because if
Okay.
you're talking about representation and everything else,
Yes.
just out of interest.
It is an interest. It is an interest. So we have had deep conversations with our elders and the body of organizations of the Dayak, and we see that this is one very important uh, arena to participate in. So they have granted this space to represent them and approach the enhanced participation mechanism. But I have to say that we have been doing our homework, and we have been working very hard to organize our bodies. So just for information, Ghazali, we now have a customary justice institution uh, body set up between Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and Kalimantan, Indonesia, not forgetting Brunei. So
Hmm.
we have now set up a la parliament type, or a pre-parliament type, or a council. We have a body already, and this will eventually lead to the enhanced position of the customary practitioners in Malaysia and Indonesia.
Hmm.
So the enhanced participation at the UN, I feel that we have something to offer. Dayak have something to offer, especially coming from a position that my home state Sabah and the neighbor state Sarawak are two states that have the native court system still in place. Although it has weakened a bit over the many years because there has not been any jurisprudence or any, what do you call it in legalistic terms, adding into the law or the jurisprudence process. It needs to be updated. But now we have a body who is willing to do that bidding, to do that work to strengthen those native courts in Sabah and Sarawak. And the Kalimantan uh, um, section or provinces are also recommended to seek recognition from the government of Indonesia to set up the traditional court for the
Hmm.
Dayak, knowing that we have already organized mm, our participation. We have already organized ourselves. So yes, enhanced participation, Dayak organizations are in.
Oh, I think it will be very helpful because right now, at least what I know so far is that in terms of representative institutions and coordinating bodies out of Asia, right now it's just AIPP that is working on this, and then I think
Yeah,
it's very important that like the protagonists of the process, institutions like yourself, should be part of that process as well. In addition to AIPP, of course, that yeah that the international community also sees that it is not just an abstract or a concept, but it is something that
yeah, it's real, man.
it is real. Yeah.
And this is what we need, man. It because what it does, it's an interlocutor on its own,
Mm.
right? Boom, sovereignty. Boom, you know, the UN DRIP Article 42. That's where it sits in, right? And
Okay.
if there is if there can be more coherence on Article 42 at its minimum, then the whole declaration will come alive. So that would mean so our right to self-determination of our own lands, our own forests, our own jungle. It's you and drip. It's sovereignty.
Mm.
So this is this is how you say, this is a necessity for
Right.
this
Yeah.
age and time, man.
Oh, sweet. I'm definitely looking forward to you, of course. Like, are you going to be permanently based in New York, or is that something? Is it somewhere
Uh,
else? Someone else?
um, we'll have to let this COVID pass.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, the idea, of course, is to already set up an office. We already booked an office space, and I was very strong to announce that we're coming to New York. We actually have a office space there, but we
Sweet.
can't operate now. Then the other opportunity is in good faith communication with Indonesia, with Brunei, and also with Malaysia, purely on UN drip.
Hmm.
No other agendas. It's boom, UN drip. 40 Article 42, Article 13.
Okay. Well, I got it. I think that's pretty exciting, especially for like Indian people that are based in those areas. Actually, as a form of inspiration.
Yeah,
That's and I think not just in the area or in the region, but like globally, that they could look towards the institution that the Dayak people are setting up. I think that it would be very helpful,
yeah, and
especially in
also
these times.
yeah, and also I have to mention here that the state of Indonesia also has a piece de resistance coming up for their own country sovereignty, which is the relocation of Jakarta.
Yeah.
Chizali is in modern times right now. It's going to be the largest movement of peoples, organizations, institutions, machineries into a new place which they have not even built any roads.
No, yeah.
About 10 million people from the island of Java is going to transmigrate into the Borneo Island. So this is why and where concrete engagement needs to be done with Indonesia as well as Malaysia, which is just the neighbor in the same island,
Hmm.
and not forgetting Brunei. So these are some of the quests, or these are some of the main engagement positions that we have coming.
Is that on your the location that they're trying to create this new capital? Is that on Dayak lands? Is that, and
Yes,
how is your
it,
institution looking at it?
it's on traditional Dayak lands, a very huge plot of land. Um, Over 10,000 kilometers square, or 10,000 hectares square, or something like that. I'm sorry, I don't have the detail
Sure.
handy
Yeah.
right now. But yes, and it is surrounded by the territory of Dayak. So the expression coming from Dayaks in that area is, okay, now you're coming on our lands. What is the bargaining position?
Mm.
Mm. So many country national leaders have come to have consultation, or not consultation. They have come to view the condition of this new area, but have not had good faith conversations and consultations with the customary Dayak organizations. And I and my colleagues in my organization, we are facilitating with Jakarta to bring a stronger and meaningful consultations. There was one held last year, but it wasn't a happy ending, I would say. So we're stepping in and calling them for another round of talks. But right now,
And there
just a
he.
week ago, President Jokowi did mention that the plan to relocate Jakarta to Borneo has been put into postponement. But that is 5 years down the road. It will
Well, it
happen.
seems. Oh, okay. Sorry, you cut out like the last couple of seconds, so I didn't get the last part. But
Okay, so the
no,
last part was, we are engaging now with Jakarta
yeah.
to call for a second round consultation and negotiation with our Dayak representation, especially in Kalimantan, regarding this relocation. But although the relocation is going to happen in 4 years from now, last week, President Joko Widodo had announced that because of COVID, they are going to postpone it. But I do believe they will not postpone it because they have already all the machineries.
Hmm.
Everything is ready to move to South Kalimantan.
So definitely, as a global movement, we should definitely keep an eye on what's going on, and
Yes,
well,
yes. Please
of
keep an eye.
course, what's going on in Indonesia, but like also what they're like in terms of moving the capital. Like it's an insane
It's insane, man.
thing to do. Like moving 10 million people. Um, yeah. Uh, from well, then again, like they're very used to like transmigration. We've seen it happen all around, so
Mhm.
can't say that they're not inexperienced in this. But then again, like yeah, it tramples on like basic collective rights that Indigenous peoples have been talking about, like lands, territories, resources, and free power from consent.
Mhm.
Um, any, I know. Well, I know you have had a long day, so I don't want to keep you on too long. Is there anything that you still want, you feel that you want to still talk about or want to address?
Um, Maybe we can talk about how prepared are we as indigenous peoples movement globally
Hmm.
post COVID?
What do you think?
Well, that's a big question.
Hmm.
Um, but I think by now everybody in the indigenous movement already see what's happening. It is an imbalance of the energy we have on the planet right now, um, which has caused such a crisis. We kind of thought that that it was coming, like a climate change. All of a sudden, you know, would come, but it took a pandemic. It took a coronavirus to make the whole world stand still and take a back seat, one step back, and see, wow, how much are we destroying the planet? And when we say this, the indigenous narrative is very strong. 80% of biodiversity is in the indigenous people's territory, and that makes a lot of people wonder what next. A lot of people are also wondering about the consumption pattern of countries that have large population. Like, for example, China. 1 billion people have to eat a chicken a day, a chicken a week. So there are thoughts here, like consumption of wild animals. Okay, we can have a sense of understanding that they need to eat, but that kind of condition. Oh, so
Hmm.
then it begs a question: how are we going to undertake sustainable consumption and production after COVID-19? And here's another thought, guys, and maybe I want to pick your brains too. Where is the Sustainable Development Goals agenda right now in this COVID-19 pandemic crisis worldwide?
I think the last question is a very good one, as in, and here's just my perspective on things is that it is what I'm seeing right now is that states are all like scrambling to respond to the pandemic, respond to the crisis. Um, that they're actually not only are they like trying to not look at the SDGs, but they're also um, not taking into account like basic human rights. That they right now is the most important thing is to survive as a nation, and that the economy afterwards, well, doesn't get too big of a hit that will all that will all end up into some kind of a depression. Um, so in that sense, I think that is the biggest problem that we as Indigenous peoples are facing is that we are now we have to look at no. So first of all, first it was a shock, right? Like the shock of like there's a pandemic and we have to deal with it, and now the shock has well we've seen we're in a bubbles, we're in a lockdown, quarantine, whatever you want to call it, and now you can think what's actually happening. And what we now see, what I'm seeing right now is that there's a lot of things that are like human rights violations, not just basic human rights, but also like collective indigenous rights that are being
Yes.
violated right now. And it is very important that we, as a global movement, as Indigenous peoples, we step up and we say, hey, like being able to like public health is fine, that it's something that we need to preserve and protect, but you cannot do stuff actually like in the margins of it, to allow big companies, to do, or like fossil fuel industry to do their thing. See in the US, like there's a lot of things that are happening. Um, Climate policies and everything else will is put on hold, so the fossil fuel industries can survive, because this whole thing is a deathbed to them. At least that's what they think. But like, so, which allows them to, for example, to dump toxic waste in like clean water. And those are one of the many things that we see happening out there. And then in Panama, what we're seeing is that the government, like the Panamanian government, is not talking anymore to the traditional indigenous authorities. It used to do before, but now it's not even taking into account their views, or not even communicating with them, or letting them know what's going on. So like, basically, whatever we have built up to COVID-19, like, and whilst everyone is locked in lockdown in their own bubble, because and there's no one is able to protest because you're all inside. So the danger is that once we come out of this, that the lockdown is lifted and quarantine is lifted, that we are in a worse position than we came in to COVID-19, when it comes to rights, and when it comes to our lands, territories, resources, and the public health of Indigenous peoples. I think that is, I've got one of the two major concerns that I have. That And I think that it's very important that Indigenous peoples, at a global scale, as an entire movement, that we start mapping things. All right, this is what's going on, in our country, and that we bring them all to one space, and that we can all see, all right, this company is doing this in Panama, but they're doing the same thing in Malaysia. This country is doing this, like, so that we can
Yeah.
zoom out, see the entire board. I think that is something that we need to do right now, because this whole being in our bubble thing, it's convenient, like, to conserving our lives, but it's not convenient, or does not preserve our movement, like the progress that we made at the international
Mm,
stage. That is concern number one. Concern number two that I have is the agenda of Indigenous peoples at the international level. You talk about SDGs. Well, so you have the high level political forum that is supposed to happen. Well, most likely will not happen this year. We don't know. So everything will be moved into the tail end of 2020, or definitely will be held in 2021. So at some point in next year, you will have permanent forum parallel to the expert net mechanism. I don't know, and climate change,
oh,
and there's an overlap of meetings. And
yep, yep.
I think that's a problem as well. That in these peoples, all of a sudden, we have to be at the same place at the same time, but in like 5 different countries or 5 different cities. And then the question is, and it tags into like what your question was, like, are we prepared to take that on? Like, concern number one and concern number two. So it is uh, basically. So how I think about it is, one is, the least thing we can do is to try to map things out. So I've been out, like, with tea time last week. We already had these discussions, and look, the Zoom calls that you were on as well. Is that like we started having conversations about, like, what is the best thing that we can do. And right now is to do a checklist, right?
Yep.
Try to like, stock take of everything that's going on, positive and problematic, like positive and negative, and and yeah, make sure that we document everything, have some kind of a database, and then with that information, we can make informed decision, informed decisions. So do that checklist. It's not just for us, but also for states. And also, the idea is to prepare a checklist for states on how to respond to COVID-19 whilst respecting the rights of Indigenous peoples.
Right.
So that checklist, once we've got it all done and dusted, we will send it to, well, probably present it to the new Special Rapporteur on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples,
Yeah.
Francisco Calitzai,
Oh, okay.
or present it to the High Commission of Human Rights,
Yeah.
making sure that it goes to the right people. So it has like two different possible outcomes, but it's very important that we do that right now, because otherwise you will come out of this and you'll see that there's a lot of things have happened, and we're not able to regress or turn it around anymore, because everything has been in such a fast pace. And then in terms of the agenda, that is something that we have to figure out as a movement. We talked about good faith. We got to be able to work with one another in good faith, and be able to have a fruitful discussion, a positive, constructive discussion, and be able to trust one another. And right now, trust, it's a little bit iffy in a movement, from my point of view. So that is basically my takeaway from the last couple of months, actually, and looking at having conversation with Indigenous peoples like yourself, and trying to take stock of things like, where are we, and where do we need to go, and what do we need to get there.
Okay. Mm. I want to say that this effort of the tea time is the time and the space of where we are in our position right now as Indigenous peoples in the world. There is zero forums, discussions, opportunities to go to a gathering and consult with elders in this lockdown. And through your effort, Gazali, you are convening very important conversations. You're kicking off and basically, like, uh, um, holding the mantle of a way forward, or even what we can do right now to start conversing. I am seeing also other colleagues in the movement beginning now to ask questions. How do we connect with each other now in the lockdown? They're asking, oh, can we have conferences using Facebook? And here we are using a new StreamYard that I've just come across today. So I really want to acknowledge your effort here. This
Thank you.
it's due. So please continue doing it. I remember a few days ago, Kenneth Deere also encouraged you to keep on going. Yeah,
Yes.
see, a leader has a quality who is selfless, regardless whether the pack follows or not, because the leader has the intuition and a sense of a way forward. And my brother, since you are meditating, oh, it's all up there in the higher in the higher consciousness, in the higher self. So, man, I have to also bring back the goodness that we have talked about earlier, is that you have also been shaped to take on at the global level through your participation, and being introduced slowly by your mama, to be in this position, and likewise saying to the youth and advising them to go through the fire in the GIYC. And when you come out as a rough diamond, you'll grow into an adult with better sense of what's needed in the global Indigenous peoples movement. So
Hmm.
that part is very important to keep up. And like you said, the checklist, the reports, the observations, the evidences, we have to put that together as a basis of preparing ourselves for the next participation. I think the other experts from Permanent Forum or MRIP have already come up with things, and we do know that there is the how do you say, the integration of the United Nations agenda with our experts at Permanent Forum and MRIP. So perhaps when if we come up with our reports right now, it really reflects the situation on the ground in our territories
Definitely, yeah.
as we are expressing right now,
Hmm.
like this.
Yeah, it will definitely, hopefully, it will, well, not hopefully, but it'll definitely contribute to their work. And it takes a lot of, um, like the thing is, like as a movement, you're much more dynamic. You know, if you're you're a active member, you have to talk to your other colleagues, and
Yeah.
UN is a very yeah, it's a very
Yeah.
bureaucratic institution. You know, and
Bureaucratic. That's
yeah,
right. Yeah.
as a movement, yeah, you're able to move a lot faster. You know, and
Yeah.
and right now we
Absolutely.
have to move fast. You know, and I think that that's very important for us, all of us,
Right.
to you know, to yeah, put some spit into it and just roll up our sleeves and do the hard work. You know, so yeah. Hey, but you should do the same thing like I do, man. Like it's not just me, but like you should do something like this. I think it'll be very interesting.
All
On
right.
any topic you want to talk about in terms of
Right.
do
All
this
right.
whole life thing. You're already doing it.
Yeah. So I started on last Sunday. It was just through Facebook, but now through this StreamYard. Let me go through the back end and see how it's done. Maybe let me toy around it before I come on with the first one. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
definitely I'll host something, and maybe of course for those who are engaging or watching, we really got to do this. We really have to get our voices out. This is us and our spirit talking. I remember Kazali. Oh my God. I remember one time. It was the negotiation with the member states on the enhanced participation.
Mm-hmm.
So it came my time to speak, and I was lost for words
Mm-hmm.
because of the heavy language by China, the US, Brazil, or India representatives who spoke earlier, and I was like perhaps the last four or last three. So when I took the mic, oh, before I took the mic, I said a prayer. I said, "Odu aki moyang," and my elders, please come right now. I need you right now to help me get through this. So the PGA called my name, and I just came up to the mic and I said, first of all, I want to send a blessing from my ancestors to each and every one of you in this room and all your countries and states. Then, then I then I read out my statement, and after that, when the session was closed, our elder from the Navajo Nation or from the Apache Nation of West Coast came up to me and said, "Hey, you Dayak, so you are the one who speaks through the wind." And I said, I'm sorry, my dear elder. What does that mean?" Oh, and he said, "Young man, what you just said today, a while ago, is the highest level of politics with the states, where you can say a prayer for them." So, so it's important that we start talking about it in real time, in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because now I believe the world is looking at indigenous peoples, nature, energy, what we speak of, what we have been fighting for all this 20, 50, 100 years, 300 years, has manifested right now through a very simple or complicated, simple but very complicated pandemic called coronavirus, which which comes from where? It comes from a stressed animal, a stressed wild animal who should be in the jungle, who should be in the forest, but they are taken out of that ecosystem into places like the Wuhan market, where hundreds or thousands of wild animals are put in small, dirty cages, and these animals become sick. And when their antibody weakens, their internal virus becomes virulent, right? And they become sick, and because the virus is already in their body, but when they are in the forest, in the jungle, it doesn't come out because they are safe, they are comfortable, they're not stressed. But in Wuhan, that's where the pangolin, if it was a pangolin, which started, I mean, which came with the virus.
Hmm.
It was stressed. It's because of human consumption. They want to eat that exotic food, but they didn't care for it. Now, slowly, the whole world is asking this question: where did that virus come from? And of course, politicians are saying, "Oh, it come from China. It's a China virus." But no, it is a virus that came out of a stressed animal. And for indigenous peoples, I don't think we ever experienced that,
Hmm.
because when we get our forest, when we get our food from the forest, it's fresh, it's kept, it's cleaned, it's consumed on the spot, it's marinated, it is salted for preservation. So the traditional knowledge here is where, once everybody, the whole world gets it, they go like, "Oh, okay, it came from the stressed animal, which should have been in the forest, where the indigenous peoples are defending their lands and living in a balance."
Hmm. Yeah, that is
That's another side.
yeah. Haven't it's another way of explaining things. Thank you so much for that. It's-
Yeah, no problem. I spoke to an indigenous veterinarian
Mhm.
about that. Like I said early on, and introducing myself, I'm with the show, the Radio Nyawa Sarawak, and we call experts. So we called Dr. Edwin Bosi, former veterinarian from Malaysia. He told us that. He said it comes from that. If you go and have a look at the Wuhan market, so we're it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Right. Um any last thoughts, or I think we can talk on for hours, but I know it's already
Yeah.
past 10 p.m.
We
over
here.
there.
Yeah.
We'll definitely should do another convo conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do a conversation, a next conversation, maybe, structure it thematically so we can take it on piece by
Hey, yeah.
piece.
This like you can structure it in any way you want it. This is just it's free to go anywhere. Even if you want
Hmm.
to talk about aliens or
Oh, talk about, okay.
or
I think
science
this
fiction or
is
whatever.
okay. So this is a very good, it's a good format. And hey guys, I'm very pleased to be your first guest on this kind of this style.
Yeah, this style is yeah the first one actually. So yeah,
Yeah.
you setting the bar pretty high.
Oh, no, 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 no.
No, but
um
yeah,
mhm. Wow, come to think about it, huh? Wow, meditation in the morning.
yeah.
Nah, just kidding. Every every leader, every indigenous persons who's fighting the fight have their own specialty. That's why this is a great team to work with. Even though they have some dissident feelings or determination,
Hmm.
that's fine. We're not leaving the planet. We're not leaving the planet. Oh, I have one last thing to share.
Sure.
Um, what I said just a while ago, we're not leaving the planet,
Hmm.
was part of a statement that I made at the post 2015 or pre Sustainable Development Goals multi stakeholder consultation. It was a closed session. Um, so came our turn. We said we're the custodians of the planet. We're gonna stay here. We're gonna be here. And I added, if you guys, multi stakeholders, industry, corporations, want to explore space, please, by all means, go. Indigenous people not gonna discriminate your rights to do that. But if you want to do space mining, go ahead. We're not going to, stop you
Hmm.
from doing that. Rights to the robots, fine, but don't discriminate indigenous peoples from asserting and claiming our rights as the custodian of the planet. So
Hmm.
if you guys want to take a spaceship and leave, I said, we're not going anywhere. Th- We're here to take care of the planet.
Right.
And I turned off the microphone. I said, thank you. You know what happened next? All of them turned their heads, bro. Look at me, and they're sitting very quietly, very, very quietly. All the eyes on me. That was the year that was 2015.
Yeah.
That was a year that I had an opportunity to address the UN General Assembly. I couldn't get
Hmm.
the funding to go there. I already had an invitation to speak at the
Okay.
podium at the General Assembly. Hey guys, yeah, it's getting a little bit late here, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Sure. No, appreciate it
sunshine for
having
you
you.
over there.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
4:30 over here p.m.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'll definitely
How's
talk
your
later, man. How what? So,
how's your bike, by the way?
bought a new bike. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, you got a new bike.
yeah.
I
Bought a
was
new bike.
sitting on your I was sitting on the back of your bike
Yeah,
when your bike had a flat tire.
yeah, yeah. So probably like it was a sign, right? A sign that to get a new one. Oh, I didn't buy one. Like
It's
I used to recycle my mom's old bike. So yeah,
sweet, sweet,
yeah.
sweet.
So it'll whenever you stop by, we'll go ride a bike again.
Ah, mm-hmm. We'll do it. We'll do
Oh,
it. We'll
definitely,
do it.
man.
And maybe we'll ride a bike wherever we meet next,
Yeah,
on conferences and wherever. I think we're getting ready. At least in our discussion today, we've talked and you know we took on very important points, and I'm hearing you also. I get your points. They're very, very important. And what do we do next, man? I mean, we got a plan. We have that plan already.
yeah, definitely.
Mm, mm.
So yeah, well, we'll continue working on that, and then yeah, and then people will eventually see what we got cooked up. So it'll be important and exciting as well. I'm a little bit excited about it. So
Yeah, yeah, me
yeah,
too, me too.
right.
Oh, did you know our friend Maria Roberto? She just shared out this live session of ours 13 minutes ago.
Ah,
Maria, how are you? All our colleagues from GIYC, hope you guys are okay.
yeah, man.
And hey, Gazali,
Yeah,
I want to request you to have this show with all our friends, especially those who shared this first show.
hmm.
I'll
Okay.
give you a list.
Yeah, give me a list, and I'll have them
Yeah, I'll give you a list.
have them on the
Yeah,
show. All right. Final thing. Do your shout outs, man. Do your thing. Global Indigenous Youth Caucus. Whoever you
oh
want to
yeah,
do a
yes,
shout out
yes,
to.
yes. All right. I want to give a shout out to the Global Indigenous Youth Caucus, who today is celebrating 14 years anniversary as a caucus. So happy anniversary to everybody. And I take this time to recognize some of the earlier members of the GIYC who started off in 2006. And as expressed by Ghazali, it took them a very phenomenal feat in MRIP Geneva and then later in Permanent Forum. I remember it was Jiten Yumnam from Northeast India. I do remember a colleague, forgot her name, I'm so sorry, but she's from the Philippines. And then as well as a colleague from Turtle Island or the Ashinabi Nation, if I'm not mistaken, Ben Paulus. So these guys were uh, um, the founders of that movement for the youth. And then I want to recognize all of the co-chairs in the past, and I do also want to recognize the present co-chairs. And I have to say that you guys are doing such an amazing job. 14 years, man. 14 long years. It's been so much to work for, and here we are, right? 14 years later. So, props up to everybody. My shout out to everyone who's watching right now, especially those who have been wondering, what has this Atama been doing all these past few years, and what are they talking about? I do not understand. We're talking about what we have been working on for the past 10 years, exactly what Ghazali had said. And my family and friends all over the world, hey, stay safe, be good. I pray that we are all safe, and if you have lost anyone in this time of COVID 19, know that they will rest in peace, and know that their spirits, that they will journey into the spirit world as our ancestors. I just want to bless all of you. This is my exit, Ghazali. I just want to bless every one of you in the name of our ancestors, Jubata, in the name of our sacred mountain, Angel King of Kinabalu. I bless you all. Kapisuduan, Kapisanangan, Adil Catalino, Bachuramin Kasaruga, Basengat Ka Jubata. And lastly, thank you, Gazali, for this opportunity to talk to you. 2 hours and 25 minutes. It's gonna really
Yeah.
make me.
It was a good conversation, though. I underline what Atama just said, and I do not feel that I have to add anything to it. Thank you so much, Atama, for your time and your energy and your work, uh, past, present, and future. And definitely going to talk more somewhere down the line, somewhere in the future.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Now all I gotta do next is figure out how I'm going to launch the film that I made in 2012, but never got a chance to launch it to everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, try to figure that out so everyone can see it.
Yeah, figure it
All
out.
right.
Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time and have a good one.
Okay, saudara, hati-hati di sana ya.
Hati-hati ya.
Ya, Maluku